John Enerson, Director of Christian Relations for Cry for Zion, an organization of Jews and Christians who are educating about the importance of the Temple Mount, and you travel the world speaking to Christians about the centrality of the Temple Mount. And just yesterday, I saw a news item that just yesterday you, and together with a few other Christian leaders here in Jerusalem and some Jewish leaders, some rabbis, ascended the Temple Mount to pray for the incoming president, now President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. So tell me about that event.
Well, definitely, it's an honor to be here, and it was a very exciting day yesterday. Several Jewish rabbis were going up to the House of Prayer in Jerusalem on Mount Zion to pray for Trump, because it was his inauguration day. And we, as Christian representatives and leaders, wanted to be there to stand together with them and to pray for Trump. And, you know, as evangelicals, it's well known that evangelicals make up a large amount of the base for Donald Trump. And we were the ones who pushed for Jerusalem being recognized as the eternal capital of the Jewish people. And so now we are praying and hoping for blessings over Trump during this term, but also we were praying that he would now recognize the Temple Mount as the heart of the Jewish capital, because that was a big exemption last time when they dedicated the embassy. He read clearly a script from the U.S. State Department saying this doesn't apply to the Temple Mount. Well, clearly it's the most Jewish site in the whole city, in the whole country, so why not?
Well, you know, when you think back at the end of the Obama administration, where he instructed his UN team to abstain to allow passage of a resolution that recognized the old city of Jerusalem and really the Temple Mount as not part of Israel. And then you have Trump come in and he recognizes Jerusalem as the capital, and he was the first sitting president to visit the Western Wall, famous pictures of him there. And, you know, the contrast could not be greater. And now we have Trump coming back. Do you guys have a plan of action? Do you guys, is there a messaging plan that you have going forward to try to influence the Trump administration in this direction?
I think it's important to get the ear of Mike Huckabee, who's going to be the ambassador to Israel. He understands Judea, Samaria, Jerusalem. Clearly, he's been invested in this topic for a long time, and he understands, I think, too, the situation on the Temple Mount, and that clearly right now it's an absurd situation for peace in the region, of letting sort of the status be in limbo like it was with Jerusalem. That should also be taken off the table. And Trump was someone who proved that all the apocalyptic doomsayers that said that everything would fall apart, World War III would start if you recognize Jerusalem, I think they'll be proven wrong on the Temple Mount as well, as we've seen since the last half year, since the summer, when things have been progressing on the Temple Mount.
You know, John, the issue of the Temple Mount, even for so many Jews, even Jews who are Jews who believe in the Torah and believe in God, they're kind of afraid to touch it. They're afraid to talk about it. Where in the same people who are in the camp that I associate with, who are adamant that we're opposed to a two-state solution, that Judea and Samaria, the heartland of the biblical land of Israel, is the homeland of the Jewish people and the Jewish people alone. Even with all of that, those same people will often be afraid to speak up about the Temple Mount. You see it in politics. The political parties that are so vocal on issues opposing a two-state solution and in favor of sovereignty, but when it comes to the Temple Mount, they're mostly silent. Why do you think that is?
I think it's a process of waking up, and we're seeing it in the Jewish world, and the numbers are way up. The amount of people that visit and pray at the Temple Mount is way up. But we're also seeing this in the Christian world. The numbers are increasing exponentially. So the last good data that we have went from, in a 5-year period, from 180,000 Christian tourists visiting the Temple Mount to 670,000
Wow.
in a 5-year period. So
how did that happen? Is that the tour companies?
It's something in the spirit of the times. We don't know exactly, and we can see a big change since Cry for Zion has been active. When we first started 2014, we asked one of the biggest Christian leaders who is pro-Israel, working to support Israel, about this issue, to take a stand for Jewish freedom and prayer and sovereignty on the Temple Mount. And he basically said, it matters nothing to me. As much as my church is important to me, the Temple Mount could be the same. Now I know that 10 years later, I'm not going to name names, but I know that he's adamantly supportive of going up with Jewish people to pray on the Temple Mount. So you see that there's been a big awakening that's slowly happening in the Christian world and in the Jewish world as to the importance and the centrality of this as an Israel issue. It's the Israel issue of our times.
So you just mentioned the issue of freedom, and it would seem that if we're thinking about Donald Trump, Donald Trump is not, he's very transactional. He seems to have his values overall politically in the right place, but he's not exactly your churchy type Christian. It would seem that the approach of pointing out the discrimination against Jews that the current status quo has with it might be the best course of action in terms of pushing the Trump administration. Meaning an argument to Trump that, hey, Jews aren't allowed to have a synagogue and aren't allowed to have organized public prayer in the site of the Jewish temple. And that's a discrimination issue, meaning spinning it that way might be the best course of action.
I think we definitely need to do that, but another sense is I think Trump responds to people who are assertive, who know what they want, who know what they're about, and are clear about it. So one of the things that I want to do from the Christian communities, we want to support our Jewish friends to say, be bold, this is your capital, the flag of Israel should naturally fly in the heart of the capital. Of course you should be able to pray here. I mean, it's clear discrimination, just like water fountains in the South of America in the 60s. I mean, this is like so classically a issue that should be strongly put forward. So I think if Israel can do that, Trump would respond. So I'm trying to encourage all my Jewish friends to be that we're with you, we're standing with you, we're supporting you.
It's a flaw that a lot of Jews have, that when Christians will be more willing to forcefully speak up for us than we ourselves will be. And there's even a biblical basis for that. We see that in Psalms, where it says when Israel returns to the land, that it will be said among the nations, God has done great things for them. And then the very next verse is in the first person plural, God has done great things for us. Like the Jews only wake up all too often when people like yourself speak up on our behalf. And again, the Temple Mount issue, it's the natural extension of all the other things that we believe to be true about this land. Any Jew who's watching Arutz Sheva, who believes that the modern state of Israel is the fulfillment of the biblical prophecies, of the ingathering of the exiles, and that this is our homeland going all the way back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, obviously the Temple Mount being truly in our hands should be central to that. So thank you so much for everything you're doing. Just tell everyone where to go to find out about the work of Cry for Zion, about everything you're up to.
Well, definitely go to cryforzion.com, sign petitions, get yourself educated. One big thing is we were working for over 4 years, many years actually, on a big film, an epic film to show the beauty and the excitement and the joy and the true heart of the Temple Mount for a Christian audience. So IamIsraelFilm.com, that's going to be coming out there this year.
Exciting. John Anderson, thank you for joining us on the coverage of the first days of the Trump administration and partnership between Israel 365 Action and Arutz Sheva.
An honor. Thank you.